child supposed to do, what is the parent supposed to do, and what is the school supposed to do with that instance where either the parent's in denial, won't address it, one parent knows.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things the gentleman is asking. So what do you do about a situation like this gentleman said, where this parent is less involved, and he's either saying, not my baby, or it just doesn't care and is uninvolved? I actually, first of all, I do not suggest you call up the parent. All right? I don't suggest you call up the parent because, you know, even if we're friends, even if you and I are good buddies, if we ever... What? What? Oh, you made the phone call? Okay. You know what? A lot of us do it. And here's the reason why you don't make the phone call. Even though you and I are buddies, and if I have a problem, if you have a problem, we'll call each other, right? Up until he calls my house. And then all of a sudden I get defensive. Those are my boys you're talking about. You're calling my boys a bully? Okay, I get defensive. I actually suggest you use school officials as a go-between. They've got no skin in the game, so to speak. You know, they're dispassionate. If you don't want to use a school official, use a church official, somebody knowledgeable in the neighborhood, sometimes a little league coach or a psychologist, a psychiatrist, pastor, a rabbi, a priest, something like that can sometimes be very valuable. If you called up a parent, look, there's worse mistakes you can make. It's not that big of a deal. I just find that a lot of times parents become defensive. For that parent that doesn't give a hoot about their own child, that's a terrible situation. I mean, think about that child growing up in that household where they know their parents aren't really all that involved. In those situations, you know what I suggest? Don't allow your child to play with that other child. Because you know what's going to happen. You know that child is going to go back to their bad ways. And if you can't supervise that child, you can't play with that child. As I mentioned, I have 2 boys at my house. My boys are older now, but when my boys were younger, we have a great basement. We had every game you could possibly think of ever invented in our basement. You know why? So all the neighborhood kids wanted to come to our house, so we could supervise them. When they're at your house or your house or your house, we can't supervise them. So we made our house the place where everybody wanted to go, so this way my wife and I could monitor the situation. That's pretty much how we were able to deal with that uninvolved parent. We just didn't send our children to that uninvolved parent's house. It's not perfect. It's just, you know, it's dealing with a bad situation.
You find that kids will get it worse with the phone. I mean, like I could see me calling Lori and saying, "It's only mine," and then I know Lori, so I know she wouldn't say that. But you know, sometimes parents are like, "Well, Johnny's mom just called me," and so then Johnny gets it worse.
Yeah. This is a tremendous fear that children have. Fear of retaliation. Oh, please don't call. It's just going to make it worse for me. And sometimes they're right. Sometimes it can make it worse. Depending on that household, depending on that family structure, it can make it worse. That's again why I use the school official as that go-between. You know, when a mother or a father calls another a mother or a father, they can dismiss us. You know, he's a whiner. He's a baby. Whatever. Everything is bullying to this guy. When all of a sudden a principal or a teacher or a guidance counselor calls up, they take that a little bit more seriously. And so again, that's why I like to use them as the go-between. They take it more seriously when they get that official title calling them on the phone. So these are not good situations. Look, I'm not going to make light of this. This is not a good situation. We're trying to do the best with a bad situation. We're trying to make a bad situation better. Is it going to turn around overnight? Is it perfect? Everything that I say is going to work first time? Probably not. Lots of tools for the toolbox. That's what I'm trying to do. Keep them coming. These are great questions and comments. Excellent. All right. So let's say your child is the one that's being bullied. A couple of things that you can do when working with your child at home. Sometimes when I work with children, I do this thing. It's called the bully-proofing plan of action. It gives them a plan to work with. And sometimes kids say to me, "When do I get to punch the bully in the nose?" You know the answer, right? You never get to punch the bully in the nose. As a violence prevention expert, I simply cannot condone violence at school. I do teach children you are allowed to protect your body at all times. But if you're going to teach your child to protect their body, you need to give them the detail. They may not know what that means on their own. So protecting your body means if somebody grabs my arm, I'm allowed to pull my arm back. And I'm out of there. I'm gone. You got the idea? That's protecting your body. If somebody grabs onto my shirt collar, I'm allowed to push them off, and then out, I'm gone. That's protecting your body. If somebody grabs my shirt collar, I push them off. They happen to fall on the ground, and now I'm like, yeah. Who's the bully now? I'm the bully. So if you teach your child to protect your body at all times, you need to give them the detail. You can't just assume they know what protecting their body means. You actually got to give them the detail. And I want to let you know, this is not in order. A lot of parents do this order, but it's not in order. You can go out of order. And I'll tell you, a lot of parents, they teach their children to ignore or walk away. Not bad advice. Not the best advice, though. It's not bad advice, but it's not the best advice. The new best advice is that you actually have to speak up. That if you don't say anything, the bully takes it as being too passive. But I will tell you, lots of parents teach their children just ignore it or walk away. Not bad advice, but again, the details are so important to you. So if a child is going to ignore, and I'm not joking here, I've seen kids in 4th and 5th grade think that la la la, la la la, la 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 is ignoring. And I'm not joking, they really think that this is ignoring. You and I know this is not ignoring. This is a show, and the bullies will be back tomorrow, and they're bringing friends. All right? When you teach your child to ignore, it's boring. It's boring. No change in facial expressions, no change in body language. It is boring. And if this kid is running their mouth, and I can't take it anymore, when I walk away, it's boring. Head up, shoulders back, and I'm walking to where there are adults. And if there are no adults around, I'm walking to where there are other children. Young children sometimes will go and run and hide. They are embarrassed about the bullying, and so they go and run and hide. They actually put themselves in more danger because there's no one else around to help them. Teach them to go to where there are adults or other children. And when they walk away, I'm over here, I'm walking to there, I'm walking with purpose. Head up, straight back, I'm over here, and I'm walking with purpose. Some kids, when they walk away, they almost can't help but show the bully that they're bothered, and they're like, well, what's going to happen? The kid's going to be back tomorrow. That bully's going to come back, and they're bringing friends, because all of this is a show. When you walk away, it is boring. Now, like I said, the better advice is to assertively tell the person to stop and then walk away. Key word there being assertively. When I'm talking about assertiveness, I'm talking about being strong without being aggressive. Standing up for yourself, but still being respectful. And you send out assertiveness signals through your body language, your eye contact, your tone of voice, and the choice of words. So first, let's go with body language. When your child is going to tell the bullies to stop, they need a movement. Knock it off. No more. Stop it now. They declare their space. In a staccato kind of movement. Knock it off. No more. And then they walk away. I'm not having it. They declare their space. They stay an arm and a half to 2 arms distance away. They're never touching anybody else. But there is a movement. It declares space. It's not a mamsy-pamsy. It's a sharp staccato movement. Body language that is strong. Eye contact. You make eye contact with the bully. In our society, eye contact is a symbol of strength. Now I have to tell you, for a child being bullied, they don't want to look the bully in the eye. So you might teach them to look at the bridge of the nose, tip of the nose, corner of the eyes, the eyebrows. And it's just a quick look. Knock it off. Get the idea? It's not that you're laser beaming anyone. You're not shooting out lightning bolts. It's the idea of eye contact is a symbol of strength. Tone of voice. You actually want your child to get a little loud here because it draws attention to your child in a positive way. And if you're going to teach your child to get a little loud here, that also includes bringing the voice down, about by half a register, a deeper voice. Knock it off. It's that staccato kind of sound. Knock it off. I'm not having it. Like that, even for girls. Because in our society, a deeper voice is considered more serious. Higher voices are considered more emotional. So bring it down by a half a register. Not a full register, or it sounds like they're faking. Knock it off. Don't move it. It's too deep. But knock it off and punctuate the sound. And choice of words. Actually work the script out with your child ahead of time, so they know what to say. They're not going to make it up on the spot. Making it up on the spot is tough stuff. Their heart is beating, their knees are knocking, and now they're going to come up with a script. You want to have that script ahead of time. Shorter is better, less is more. I'm not having it. Then they walk away. No more! And then they walk. Get the idea? That's the way to do it. Now, I should let you know this. There are some bullying prevention experts who will teach children to make a joke when they're being bullied. I do not support this at all. I do not support this at all. First of all, have any of you ever tried to make a spontaneous joke? It's hard to make a joke up on the spot. And sometimes parents will give their child a line. If the bully picks on you, here's the thing you're going to say back. And the kid's like, yay, I got my line, I'm ready. And then the bully comes at them, it's a verbal bully, it's like, yay, I got my line. I give back my line, and then the verbal bully comes back with another line. And I'm like, I only had one line, you know. Without meaning it, we set that child up for failure. So, you know, I really don't suggest any kind of joking or anything like that. I'm not having it, and they walk. No more, I'm out of there. Stop it now. All right, C. Be careful of C. I'm really careful of C. C is warn that you will talk to an adult, then walk away. This is a good one for kindergarten, first, second graders. They love to tell on each other. They can't wait to tell on each other. You dropped your pencil. I'm going to the principal. They love to tell on each other. Between third grade on up, huge nerd factor, huge meaning factor. Okay? Ooh, teacher's pet has to go to the teacher. Ooh, can't handle it yourself. And you know what? Between third and let's say 10th or 11th grade, that's a real concern for them. They are concerned about that. So, you know, some 11th graders, by the way, they come back around, somewhere around 11th or 12th grade. They can sometimes start talking to adults again. But for most of them, between 3rd and 10th and 11th grade, this is not a good one. Instead, just go to the adult and clearly tell the adult what has happened and what steps you have taken. And I'm not very proud of this, but I'm going to share a story with you. When I first started out teaching, I was a PE teacher, a gym teacher. And I don't know how many of you know this, but oftentimes, like gym teachers, we become the person who's in charge of recess and in charge of outdoor recess and things like that. And again, I'm not really proud of this. I was in charge of the little ones. I had the younger children, and I would be out on recess with them, and sometimes they would come over to me, and I didn't listen to them when they spoke. Okay, when they would speak to me, because their stories took forever. All right, and it just took forever. I was over by the slide, and Maria came over, and she said, I've already stopped listening. All right, it's taking too long. I simply can't be that patient. And again, I'm not proud of this, but I am being honest. And I suspect from the laughter, some of you have maybe done this also. You know, we don't always pay attention to the little kids the way we should. So what I teach younger children to do is say something like this. When they go over to an adult, they say, look, I'm trying to stay out of a fight. All right, there's a few reasons for it. Look, I'm trying to stay out of a fight is the first thing they say. Because for some children, they feel like a wimp or a weenie or a weakling or something like that. And when they say, look, I'm trying to stay out of a fight, it's like, I could fight, I'm trying to stay out of a fight. Gives them back a little bit of power. Also, when the adults in your child's life, here, look, I'm trying to stay out of a fight, this means pay attention. This means it's an important story. This means pay attention to me now. Look, I'm trying to stay out of a fight. They then tell their story, and then the last thing they say is, like I said, I'm trying to stay out of a fight. It almost becomes like bookends, so the adults know when they're supposed to pay attention. You know, here's where it starts, here's where it ends. So we adults know. Now, if you're going to do that, you've got to teach everyone in your child's life, this is important stuff. You've got to teach your pastor and your little league coach and your karate studio master. Everyone's got to know, look, I'm trying to stay out of a fight means pay attention. Get the idea? A couple of other things to think about. So let's say the bullying is happening here at the school. If bullying is happening here at the school, there are some to-dos and some not-to-dos. So first, let's start off with some to-dos. So let's say bullying is happening here at the school. First of all, follow the chain of command. I know for a lot of us, when our child is being bullied, we want to call up the superintendent, we want to go in and talk to the board president, we're going to call everybody we possibly can. And I understand why we go to the superintendent or the board president. We want it to stop, and we want it to stop now. That makes sense to me. But the truth is, the board president doesn't know your child. The superintendent doesn't know your child. They will listen to you, but they're probably going to say something like, have you talked to the principal? Have you talked with the classroom teacher? They'll listen to you, but they're going to put you back into the chain of command because they don't know your child. So it's probably better for you to go to the classroom teacher, go to the advisor for the homeroom or something like that. They know your child better. If you're going to have a meeting with the classroom teacher or the classroom advisor, prepare for the meeting. If you need a file from the school that they went to 2 years ago, don't show up 5 minutes beforehand and ask for that file. It's not fair. It's not fair. They can't get that file for you. If you need Mrs. Jones, the art teacher, to be at the meeting, they'll have Mrs. Jones, the art teacher, at the meeting. But don't show up 5 minutes beforehand and ask for Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones has other responsibilities. She's got other things she's got to do. If you want Mrs. Jones, tell everybody that you need Mrs. Jones there. They'll free her up, but don't show up 5 minutes beforehand. Getting stuff in line is preparing for the meeting. Letting the school know what you need is preparing for the meeting. And at the meeting, you're going to work with the school to develop something called a safety plan. It's sometimes called a school safety plan, a student safety plan, or just a safety plan. It's basically, how are we going to keep my child safe here at school? If the problem is on the back staircase at 2:30, how are we going to keep my child safe at the back staircase at 2:30? If the problem is the far corner of the recess field at lunch, how are we going to keep my child safe at the far corner of the recess field at lunch? And when you come up with the safety plan, you write it down. Everybody writes it down. So Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Jones and Mama and Papa and principal and guidance counselor all have the same information. Sometimes we remember things differently, or we put more emphasis on one part than the other. When you write it down, we're all literally reading from the same page. It keeps everyone honest in the best possible sense of the word. It lets everyone know what their role is. What is Mrs. Smith supposed to do? What's the principal supposed to do? What's the child supposed to do? What are mom and dad supposed to do? It lets everyone know their roles. And again, you write it down. And you'll have to make sure the student is involved with the plan. Because let's say you love the plan. Classroom teacher loves the plan. Guidance counselor loves the plan. Principal loves the plan. And you show it to your child and the child says, "That's stupid. That's not going to work." You know what? Your child is probably right. If the child does not believe in the plan, it's not going to work. When you have your child involved in the plan, that does not mean they attend every meeting. That does not mean that they've heard every adult conversation. It does mean they're involved with the plan. If the child says, "Oh no, not Mrs. Smith, everyone knows she's the worst, can it be Mrs. Jones?" All right, we can negotiate about that. The child's got to believe in the plan. Again, not every meeting, not every talk do they get to hear, but they got to believe in the plan. They got to be involved with the plan. And then you're going to evaluate the plan based on, is my child safe? We talked about this. If the problem is on the bus, is my child now safe on the bus? The problem with the far corner of the recess field, is my child now safe at the far corner of the recess field? And you're going to come back and evaluate the plan. Usually 3 weeks is enough time to evaluate a plan. Sometimes you might need as much as 6 weeks. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. Schools get a little wacky at those times. Most of the time, 3 weeks is enough time for everybody to figure out the plan and learn their roles. But sometimes you might need as much as 6 weeks because schools get a little wacky. And be aware of limitations regarding the information you can get about other students, especially about the bullying students. Sometimes we'll call up a principal and we'll say something like, "So what did you do to the bullying?" And the principal will say something like, "Oh, we imparted an age-appropriate consequence." And you're like, "No, no, no. What did you do to the bully?" "We followed our code of conduct." And you're like, "No, no. What did you do to the bully?" "We followed our student handbook." And you're like, "What did you do to the bully?" And they